How many extraordinary rainstorms does it take before we start calling them ordinary? Flooding douses the metro from the freeways to way too many basements. And a massive memorial is taking shape to honor the thousands of lives lost to COVID-19. Today is Independence Day, July 4th, 2021, and this is Flashpoint. Hi, welcome to Flashpoint on this July 4th, the 245th birthday of the United States of America. You know, I always enjoyed the story of King George III supposedly writing in his diary on this day in 1776 that, quote, nothing important happened today. Well, it turns out it was exactly that, just a story, and an apocryphal one at that. King George never kept a diary. Alas, one more good story ruined by the truth. There will be bombs bursting in air tonight, as there always is on the 4th. We had them roaring over Lake St. Clair on Monday evening with the Ford fireworks. There was also quite a boom on Thursday as the indictments came in against the Trump Organization and its chief financial officer. We'll see where that goes. But much of the focus in our area for the last week has been on water. Way too much of it, seemingly mocking our overwhelmed and too often poorly maintained systems for handling it. So many neighborhoods that look like they're holding mass garage sales, but no, that's just the ruined carpets and furniture and appliances that are now soggy trash. Today, how do we solve this far too frequent problem? What does it say about our long-running fights over infrastructure spending? And a little later on, the plan to honor the lives lost to the pandemic. It's all today on Flashpoint. You know, for many, this holiday weekend has been anything but relaxing as they continue to try to dry out their flooded basements, keep the mold at bay, get their ruined belongings out to the curb, or perhaps even try to get their car back from a towing service. Last weekend's torrential rains created a colossal mess, and the questions over what to do about it are many and often complicated. Let's talk about it with a great group. Matt Chenoweth is the Chief Bridge Engineer for MDOT. Candace Miller is the Public Works Commissioner for Macomb County. And Sue McCormick is the CEO of the Great Lakes Water Authority, to which so many Southeast Michigan municipalities belong. And Sue, let me start with you. We've had about a week past now. Why don't you give me your thumbnail? How do you assess what happened overall?
Well, you know, Devin, this flooding that occurred this week was this unprecedented storm that really delivered about 7 inches of rain in 13 hours. In perspective, it's typically more than we get in the entire month of June, about 25% of what we get during the entire rain season. So this is really, an unprecedented event. We had some challenges in the GLWA system. Just like all of the utilities, we had some issues at one of our pump stations associated with one of our lines being out of service. That said, everything that was available to us was in operation. My thumbnail sketch of this would be that the system that we have functioned at its capacity in the circumstances we had, but that the amount and the intensity of the rain received would have overwhelmed any combined collection system designed to current standards. You know,
Sue, I guess to many that is troubling news to hear that most everything did work the way it was supposed to. It was just overwhelmed. So if these rains and the meteorologists and climatologists tell us we need to get used to extremes, we're going to have to build more capacity then, I guess is where I'm left with what you're saying.
We certainly can't lose sight of the long view, which is the fact that climate change is having a significant impact on the increase of these major storms, which overwhelm our current infrastructure and frankly, that across, cities across the country. And this has been one of the conversations that's being had as we look at funding for water systems, which include the sewer systems, of course, across the country. You know, as a regional authority, we have the ability to pivot our attention to take a look at both the short and long-term demands for the system, like we have seen this week, of preparing for the long term. I will tell you that our recent wastewater master planning effort that we looked at with all of our regional partners and in the region focused primarily on water quality and service levels. And, the long-term solution, we looked at doing all of the separations of these systems so that we could eliminate sanitary sewer overflows and backups. For our region, that was estimated in the $15 to $17 billion range. So that's certainly, a huge challenge for us as a region to take a look at where those resources to do that.
Well, in fact, Candace Miller has talked frequently before about the plans that she forwarded for what it was going to take to get the system together, built up for the long term, and she got a sort of a big no from Lansing on that. But Candace, take me through your thumbnail of what happened, because while St. Clair Shores did not have the problems that community often has in the flooding, you talked about you had your big 3 pumps were the alarms were going off. They were overtaxed through most of the bulk of this, the intense part of this storm as well.
Yes, at our Chapaton pump station, which is right at 9 Mile and Jefferson in St. Clair Shores, that's our big retention basin. We send our flow down the Jefferson pipe, the pipe that goes down Jefferson, to the Connor Creek pump station, which is operated by the Great Lakes Water Authority. And I have asked, and I'm asking, particularly with Sue right here, we need to have an independent investigation as to what happened that night during that rain event, which I totally agree was a very heavy rain event. However, we need to know exactly what happened or didn't happen properly at the Connor Creek pump station, because what happened, for some reason, again, I don't know if they didn't have enough manpower, if they didn't have enough generators, if they had pumps out, power outages, whatever. It did not run optimally. And because of that, all the combined sewers was backing up through Jefferson, right? Through the Jefferson-Chalmers area, backing up along Jefferson, through the Grosse Points, backing up along Jefferson. There's a pump station, a small one at Martyr Road, which was shut off by Kip Walby, the mayor of St. Clair Shores. He did the exact right thing and told us that he was shutting Martyr off. We couldn't send any more flow down. So at our pump station at 9 Mile and Jefferson, we opened up an emergency discharge bypass that we have, that we've never used since I've been there, but our guys ran that 4 or 5 hours that night. And as you mentioned about our pumps, we have 3 big pumps at that station, and they were all running full capacity. The building was literally shaking. All the alarms were going off because all the pumps were overheating. Yeah. There's a big manhole right at our driveway, which blew up into the air. But regardless of that, we worked through it. And we had a few basements flood in St. Clair Shores, but really not the thousands that I think would have happened if we had not used the discharge. So we need to know what happened at the Connor Creek pump station. Well, and
before I get to Matt, then, Sue, do you want to weigh in? Have you been able to drill down yet and figure out what happened at Connor Creek?
No, we do know that we had a little bit of an issue for about 45 minutes early in the storm, where we had some difficulty getting pumps on. We had a local power issue, we think, within the facility itself. It may have been complicated by what was going on within the electrical system outside, but we don't know that. This is going to require an after-event analysis. And Candace, we have recommended to our board that in addition to our after-event analysis that we will typically do as an organization, that the board commission an independent analysis from an engineering firm or consultants that would report directly to our board. We too want to make sure that we have all eyes on this to look at not only could we have done better and are there things that we could do differently, or whether there are options or alternatives for improving the performance of the stations. Now, you do know that both the Fruit Station and the Connor Station work in these storm events, and both of those stations are scheduled for replacement in our capital plan and have been approved. We're actually acquiring property. So if there's something we need to do in those designs of those facilities, we want to do that.
Let me bring Matt in here. Matt, it's easy for all the old saying is all politics is local. Well, all flooding is local when it's your problem. And of course, it's easy to start to drill down and think that this is maybe was specific to Jefferson Chalmers, specific to Grosse Pointe, but it was everywhere. We saw this massive problem in Dearborn, and your problem was different as well, Matt, with what we saw on the roadways. Detroit has obviously a structural issue with so many of our highways being below ground. They just couldn't keep up. What happened on the roadways?
Yeah, that's correct, Evan. So if we go back to the 1940s and 1950s, when the freeway planning was being done through the city of Detroit, most of the freeways are in fact depressed freeways, and that at the time, for environmental reasons, was the right thing to do. Right, all of that congestion is not on the surface streets. We retain service drives. It's good for noise mitigation. But it does present a problem where we are reliant upon a storm sewer system, an electrical grid that can, power the pump stations. And so what had happened the other night is similar to what's happened in previous heavy rain events, is that when we lose power in the power grid, the pump stations lose power as well. Now, MDOT, whenever we go in and rehabilitate our pump stations or rebuild our roadways, we try to build redundancy into the power supplies so that we don't have these issues, right? We'll have one, underground feed and then one emergency feed that can go overhead. We have crews that have mobile generators that plug into these pumps, but it's a systemic issue, Devin. You've got a freeway that is designed for a certain rain event, a 100-year event, and we get a 200-year event. And so the freeway drains the lowest point, the pump station pumps it up into the local system, and then it pumps it into the waterways, the rivers. And all of these things are getting hit at the same time. From an overall structural resiliency perspective, we're finding at MDOT when we go in and we replace a bridge over a waterway, we are increasing the span lengths of our bridges by 30% so we can allow more of a hydraulic opening.
Yeah, this new normal that I'm talking about. But, I suppose you're talking about the redundancy that you need. Matt, in a storm, the least surprising thing, I guess, is that the power goes out, right?
Well, yeah, correct. I mean, the power does tend to go out, and that's why we have these mobile generators that we have crews that are in the Wayne County area. We have other pump stations in the Saginaw and the Flint area that we have to manage as well. But yeah, that is the power going out. And as Candace mentioned, the pumps overheating, that is a concern.
Well, back to you, Candace, then. And where do you think we're going to get the wherewithal and the drive to actually spend what it's going to take? Because it doesn't sound to me like this was simply a matter of us turning different knobs or dials the next time this happens. We need more than that, don't we?
Well, look, you have to make sure you're operating your stations that you have correctly, first of all. So there has to be an operational roadmap, if there isn't one now, for operating all of your pump stations to their capacity. And I mean, if you don't have enough generators, whether it's GLWA or Macomb County or MDOT or whatever, we better get them. Because whether it's climate change or whatever it is, guess what happens in Michigan? It rains, and it's going to rain again. So let's get better prepared. And what happened here, yes, there was a lot of rain, but it also sounds like there were some operational issues that made everything much, much worse. And we have to do a better job because guess what? We need to be better prepared. So we have to have the political will to do what we need to do. We need to spend more money, of course, on infrastructure. I always talk about that. But some of these things can be fixed internally. And so, we have to be able to walk and spit at the same time here.
Sue, it's interesting that so many people along this system are making independent decisions, like the one that Candace Miller made, like they made in Detroit and in other parts, these other members of the GLWA, and yet those independent decisions are all coming together in one system. That seems sort of built for confusion and chaos, isn't it?
It is. And when we did our wastewater master plan, we said exactly that. We started with a really simple message, and that was that the pipes don't know the boundaries. We've made a tremendous amount of investment in the region, but it's been made in a very segmented manner. We don't operate it as one system. So the kinds of things that Candace mentioned about not being able to get into the system, that should be visible to her so that decisions about discharging these sewers can be made in the right moment when that's visible, rather than trying to force more water down a pipe that can't handle it and resulting in backups and overflows in other locations. We have some of that now. The boundaries of our communities are often also the boundaries of their permits. And so they're doing what a permit requires them to do, but the permits don't knit together well. We identified all of that in our master plan effort. Yeah. So we know we need to work on a regional operating plan, and we have gotten a nod from Eagle for us to do that. We're working on that. We also know that there are some ways that we can think more about where the next best investment is, rather than thinking about each system looking at their investments independently. We've identified projects to optimize existing infrastructure, and we're working to do those as well. So I think we've begun the regional think. that will actually give us the best use of the existing public investment as we move forward.
That would help. Lastly, Matt, I've got just a couple of seconds left. What do you need for this not to happen again? We're not going to raise the highways. In fact, I was wondering, isn't there a way to shut down the highways before it gets to this point so that we don't have all of these cars stuck and then trying to turn around and drive the wrong way on the freeway?
Yeah, we can do that, Devin. We have our Transportation Operations Center that monitors traffic. But like Sue mentioned, it's a function, and Candace mentioned, it's a function of investment. And I'll give you an example. Right now, we're working on our I-75 Segment 3 project, which is a $1.4 billion road reconstruction. And as part of that, 100 feet down, we have a 14-foot diameter collector sewer for all of the drainage for that area. And it's going to be metered out into the Red Run drain. We're doing similar things with our I-94 reconstruction, where we're storing the water and we're metering it into these rivers and streams, because we can have the best decision making, but when the streams are overflowing, it can't take any more water.
We're going to have to spend smarter money, no doubt about it. I knew I had a great group together to talk about it. Thank you all so much for your thoughts, and here's hoping we can get the steam together to make the changes and put them in place as we need to in the future. Thanks so much. We'll take a quick break. Back with more on Flashpoint on Local 4.